and welcome to the Better You podcast sponsored by Lamco Wellness. If you like our content or material, please like and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, please leave a comment below. We'd love to have people on. Today, I'm joined by Ali Bailey and Ravi Patani, a friend of the show. So thank you both. We're going to be talking about music as it relates to mental health. Um, so to kick things off, I wanted to talk about, for me, music. It started, I love music, but it started as a coping mechanism for my, shall we say, teenage angst. I don't know where everybody else is on that, but that's really what kind of inspired it for me. Which I think ties great into mental health. Where are you guys at on it?
Ali, I'll
Okay,
let you.
okay, yeah. So, as far as for me, yeah, I think more in my teenage years, I liked a lot of rock and roll music. I grew up with parents that were more of the 80s, 90s, like new wave stuff. So, I was hearing really good music, from, previous years and then kind of finding my own. As of late, I love electronic music. And if anybody's tuned into our previous podcast regarding, physical wellness and mental health and the connection between the two. I went into a lot of detail about how I love weightlifting and the Stairmaster, and electronic music just simply helps with that to cope with the long cardio sessions that I do. So, yes.
Ravi?
No, on the same boat. So I had an opportunity to come from a different country where different music was played. And I first joined in to the U.S. market. It was all rap. So I got introduced to all rap music, and as I grow older, it was just more like Ali mentioned, electric music as well, and then some lo-fi music these days to enhance like focus and productivity as well. Yeah.
Cool, cool. I know, like for me, I don't know if you guys have the same or a similar story, but for me, I can pinpoint the moment that music became a thing for me mentally. Is uh, when I was younger, um, we had just moved from a really really small town in on the East Coast. In the middle of nowhere, like cornfields next to us type town, to the Chicago suburbs, and I was kind of really struggling to fit in and adjust. And I was listening to a top 40 station. I can't remember which one, but it was a top 40 station, and the the DJ, for whatever reason, put on a Nirvana song, In Bloom. I'm not sure if either of you are familiar with it, but the the chorus basically says, he's the one who likes all the pretty songs, but he knows not what it means. And that line resonated with me so much, and it just by itself spawned this incredible love of music that exists still to this day. And for me, I think from that it was the first time for that I had heard what I was feeling at the time articulated in a way that I felt like other people heard it too. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, no, it definitely does. And I think we all go through different times of our life where we remember, like you said, exactly where you were, kind of what, situation you were going through, that you found music to be like that outlet, that coping mechanism because it's familiar, right? Like if I'm going through something, I might go back. I mean, I have a Spotify playlist of about probably 60,000 songs since 20, I don't know, 2018, 2019, and I can go back to December 2019 and remember I was living in Connecticut, East Coast at the time. I was, still in college and, trying to figure out really what I wanted to do when I entered grad school. So, I mean, we can really go kind of in a time machine and, go back to those comforting times of our life, but also, have those things we're doing now for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing like what you mentioned regarding to fitting in. So I think
Mhm.
that's what I had done when I first moved to the U.S. It was just listen to the rap and which state I was in as well at the same time. So back then it was more like Soldier Boy, and then Lil Wayne was playing. So I got to introduce at an early stage of not knowing, first of all, English as well. But getting to listening to those songs, it made my English a little bit better as
Mhm.
well. So I agree in regards to fitting in does help with music a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I remember high school. I don't know if this is the same with YouTube, but uh, friend groups in high school seem to start around musical uh, alignment and then kind of evolve from there. But they always seem to start with that musical alignment. I don't know if it was the same for you. Maybe like I was a music nerd, uh, so maybe it's not.
Yeah, I was in actually in high school. I was in three different choirs. I was in like a lunchtime one, one that would travel around, and just like a general school, choir. I also played a lot of different instruments, including the guitar. So I guess for me, like overall, it was kind of like my safety in school. I was bullied a lot in school. I know a lot of people don't think that now. I'm actually a very shy person in my personal life, but work brings the extrovert out of me. So again, I mean, it was just like, wow, like, at the end of my school day, I have music. When I get home, I have music. So it was just always just in the back of my mind that that was my safety net.
Yeah, not as much as the groups. It was more related to dances. So the certain type of songs that you like, you'll be in a group of like people who dance together at the same time. So we had a lot of competition that we'll do, if it's either with English music or any other type of language at the same time. Um,
Wow, cool.
That's really cool. I've never done like competitive dance or really much dance other than like at concerts or school dances or whatever. What to get off topic a little bit? What is that like?
well, at the end, they were all related to like ISA, so it was like an Indian association club, um,
Okay,
where of course all the Indian music are being played, and then depending on what part of the state you're from, they'll have the songs from there. So we'll come, all the high school at that point will come together and have a competition, and then the more songs that you listen to at that era, either it's a sad or happy or a boost and creativity as well. Which was a lot of fun. But you'll just see like a lot of groups together. We're
yeah,
just listening to the same songs over and over again, so, to practice their dance moves and such.
that is so cool. I will say, this is just my own very narrow worldview, unfortunately, but it does seem like a lot of other cultures. I mean, we in the U.S. we do as well, but really unite over dance. It's like a common thing that binds us together and just brings us together. So that's really cool. And obviously you can't. Well, I guess you can dance without music, but I don't really want to see it. I mean, maybe like stomp, tap, something like that. I guess. Uh, but anyway, for for me, I kind of mentioned already, but my initial connection with music really came from coping with the teenage anger and angst that comes from, I think, just being a teenager. Maybe I was unique, but looking back, I don't feel like I was unique. Um, so I started with a lot of like metal and punk music, and there's still some aspects of that really resonate with me. A lot of it as an adult, I'm very much like, oh, I'm not in that headspace, and it really doesn't work for me the way that it did when I was younger. But there's also a lot of other songs like Rage Against the Machine always will have a spot in my heart forever, and it's very angry. It's in the name, but uh, you know, I don't know if you guys have an opinion about like how your musical tastes evolve based off of where you're at and what you're going through. Because I mean, right now I don't have that anger in me anymore that I did when I was younger, and so a lot of those songs just really don't appeal to me the way that they used to.
Yeah, no, and I kind of have the opposite of anger. I mean, for me, and I mean, I grew up in a household. I have a younger sibling, and he actually led a heavy metal band. So there were times I'd walk in and I would hear just like screeching, screaming. At first, I didn't know what was going on, but I just remember going in the garage and they were rehearsing, him and his friends. And he's like, "Yeah, like, wasn't that the coolest song ever?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what word he was saying." I mean, but that it's cool, you know? And I mean, I love heavy metal, Disturbed, you know, a lot of different artists, Five Finger Death Punch, you know, all of those names. But for me, I think just kind of, you know, again, being in the gym so much, you know, uplifting. I mean, not that those aren't uplifting, but, you know, things you can do cardio to and kind of have like a beat. So like dance music, electronics always been my thing, but I guess it might also be the clinician in me that also has become just a part of my regular everyday personality. I don't know if you either of you have heard of Alan Walker. He's a Norwegian DJ, but he almost comes out with songs like when I'm going through things in life. Like a lot of his messages behind his music is like don't give up hope, you know, keep going. I mean, he does not know me personally, but I'm one of his many fans who, you know, listens to his music every time something comes out. And I'm like, okay, like that's something I can not just work out to, but it also gives me like hope. So it makes me happy. You know, I'm like, wow, like whatever I'm going through, I can get through it. So not particularly anger, Aaron, but you know, the opposite. So yeah, I mean that's just me though.
Oh,
How about
that was
you?
great points that you guys made. Mine usually has been as the evolve goes, it's like cooking music these days. Again, I'm no good cook, but I just like to have something in the background where I can like listen to like a little bit of jazz. So I don't know, it just like makes like cooking, as intense as it sounds, less stressful. So I mean, it's been nice, and same thing with like any running music that's played, or like while I work in the morning, I'll have something in the background just to, I don't know, improve focus as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, great points from both of you guys on that.
Do you so when Ali was talking about how she has an artist that just seems to get her emotionally, do you? I do. I'll share that in a second. But do you have one as well where you're just like, man, does this person see me or like what's going on? Because they just always seem to get me.
Actually don't. Like I said, there's different artists that have like in different languages that I listen to the songs in.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it translates in my head sometimes will be in my like first language, and then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if I listen to the English language, I'll have it like in English. So or I'll like I'll translate it back to the main language. But no like specific artist. It's just what I'm in the mood for at the moment.
No, I mean that's totally. I feel like that's one of the great things about music is there's this sense of everybody connects to music. I've met people who claim to not like music, and then I start listening to music with them, and they're yeah they like music. Everybody likes music. To anybody who's listening who doesn't like music, I'm very sorry, but I kind of do. Yeah, I think that it does tie back to that music speaks to us on a personal, very deep emotional level a lot of times. My own artist that really just seems to always uh, connect with me is a British or English, to be more specific, folk punk singer, Frank Turner. I don't know if anybody's heard of him. He's pretty obscure, I think, but for whatever reason, his songs, I'm always like, I know exactly where you are, and thank you for putting into words where I'm at right now, so that I can like better express it. I feel like that's the crux of the creativity of music is are you saying something where people hear what they're feeling? I don't maybe I don't really know enough, but that's what it feels like for me.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said before, I think we all are in different parts of our lives, right? And if we hear a song or just maybe even a quote by one of our favorite artists that we look up to so much, it's just so inspiring. Like if, they can write a song about something they went through, or, you know, kind of reach me even with just one line, like I can do this, like I can get through anything, and it just is just so empowering.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then there's also that music that just you have no idea what it means or what it's about, but it gets you. Um, for the life of me, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I know that you know what I'm talking about because I feel like everybody has those moments where they're like, "What is this song even about?" But I really like it. Um, but yeah, I know for for me personally, I look at music really as a coping mechanism for life. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely just the enjoyment of it, but it's also really helpful as a coping mechanism for life in the, de-stressor, getting your anxiety, thoughts, whatever out in a more I guess functional
Mhm.
manner.
Mhm.
I don't know where where you two are with that, but
Yeah, yeah, and kind of like you said, going back to coping. I mean, I have a set of probably 100 of those AirPods for my iPhone, and when one pair is not charged, I will put another pair in. Like I always have. I mean, I don't have them in now because we're in our podcast meeting, but I always have music. Like no matter what I'm doing, like, and not that I time myself, but I'm always like, wow, my timing is almost impeccable. Like when I'm cleaning the kitchen, like I'm okay, 3 songs. I know I pretty much can get through, and I know every word, every line of the song. So it just makes functioning in everyday things you might not want to do, like chores or, drive to the store. I mean, it just makes everything much better. So,
Same boat with you, Ali, on that.
yeah.
Just day to day, every single like every hour, there's something playing in the background. If it's either just going to the gym, even though I'm gonna listen to the same song again in the gym,
Yeah.
or if I'm like doing any chores at the house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's amazing how music revolves around you and the people as well, which is very nice.
I agree. I feel like that is something very interesting about music is that it is a very connecting thing, but it's also very personal. Both of you talked about having music playing while you're doing things, while you're being productive. For me personally, I feel like it's a productivity enhancer. When I have it playing, like I can just zone in and I'm enjoying the music and I'm doing my work, and it everything just flows naturally from that.
Is
Yeah.
there a specific genre that you say it helps you with that? Because for some reason, for me, it's always sad music. I don't know why. It just makes me focus.
Really?
Even though I'm not feeling down or anything like that, it just makes me focus more. I don't know why.
Um, it varies depending on my mood and where I'm at. Like if I'm just dragging myself to work, um, I go with the old like angry music just
Mhm.
because you kind of have to pay attention with that. Um, but yeah, it really depends on my mood. If I'm in a really good mood, then like top 40
Mm,
uh, or classic rock, classic rap type things.
gotcha.
How about you, Ali?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say too, I mean, it depends on my mood. Of course, I mean, in the gym, I mean, I might put on that heavy metal, just, music to get me going when I'm doing, I mean, I lift very heavy. So for me, sometimes it's like I can't listen to that really peaceful instrumental that I listen to on the way home because I'm just going to want to go to sleep and relax. So it has to just fit the tone of what I'm doing. But again, I mean, I might listen to rap first thing in the morning. I might listen to, a little bit of country. It just all depends. But I love all music, really.
That I feel like when I was younger, I didn't love all music. Like I did, but I tried to say, oh, I don't like this type of music, or oh, I don't like this type of music, and I feel like as I've aged, I've just been like, well, there's some things that speak to me a little bit more, but really, it's all valuable, it's all powerful, in some sense. I don't know if that's a similar experience for the both of you, but I definitely feel like I've evolved into liking uh, a bunch of different types of music.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it's almost like with foods that we maybe didn't like as a kid, maybe we like them now, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe there were things we listened to or our parents had us listen to and we were like, "Oh, I don't like this." And then now we listen to it when we're being productive. You never know. I mean, our interests can definitely change. And, I think too, life experiences might give us different perspectives, right? Like you were saying, I believe earlier, Aaron, about connecting with others, right? Like a lot of relationships are built upon similar interests, and maybe that's listening to music and not saying we're adapting to someone else's interests to be close with them, but maybe they kind of open it up and say, hey, like, have you heard this song? And it's like, okay, like I've heard all of these other songs or genres, and this is kind of something new I can break into.
The nice
Yeah.
thing about that is usually all these apps these days, right? Like Ali mentioned, Spotify. Spotify has a preview of your year, like a year in review,
Oh, yeah.
where it will show you in terms of like any new music artist that you like listen to, or any new just music in general that you had not seen prior year. And again, like you said, you can like share it with your friends and family members to see if it connects or if they like any of those songs as well. So again, just broaden the view of your music, your own self, and then your friends and family members at the same time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say that the Spotify's, the Pandoras, the YouTube has its own YouTube Music app that kind of does it. I'm Usually I'm kind of railing against the algorithms that know a little bit too much about us, but yeah, keep feeding me the music recommendations, please. I love it. I will go down that rabbit hole all day, every day if I could. It's amazing. Which to bring it back to mental health, I do think that that's really interesting in that we to not to go too far off topic, but we can talk about how the modern society, it's difficult with all how plugged in we are to really um, develop and to work our brains in a way that works for us, or to find a comfortable level. But for whatever reason, music is never that. It's never a part of that. It's always, to me, I mean maybe that's not the case, but I haven't heard of this where it's always part of, um, again, part of something that unites us together, and part of something that makes us feel better, um, which I think is just amazing. And hopefully, more people can acknowledge and find common ground on, based on music. Maybe, I don't know. um, but to to bring things back to coping, one of my big musical coping things is, I don't know if you guys experience this, I might be alone in this, but that feeling of like existential dread, where you just kind of recognize the vastness of the universe around you, and your just immense smallness around it, and it becomes overwhelming. And for whatever reason, music just eliminates that for me. When that happens, I don't know if everybody experiences that like I do, but it is my go-to for just being overwhelmed by not necessarily anything going on with my life, but just how big everything is.
Yeah, no, and I resonate with that. I mean, and I know in my other podcasts that you all, hopefully have tuned into as well, I smile a little bit more But like right now, and to be transparent, I had a root canal yesterday. So for me, like as you all know, like the gym is my outlet. So like right now, I was told I can't really work out for a couple of days. So like you, Aaron, like music is always been my outlet, even after a hard workout session, and I might have a little bit more, juice in me to maybe go back to the gym or go for another walk or something. But sometimes it's like, I just want something that's here. I want something that's accessible to me, that I know I don't have to drive somewhere to get that comfort or that feeling of safety. Like I have it at my disposal. I just, like we talked about with apps, go right on my phone. I have Spotify, I have SoundCloud, I have YouTube. I can just turn on the TV and everything's right there. So, I mean, I definitely think it can bring you just immense joy, and just that feeling of safety when you feel like everything around you is just kind of closing in on you.
Any thoughts, Robbie?
I mean, for me, it was mainly due to improving my communication skills. When I first started listening to music, of course, like I had no clue what they were saying. Right,
Mhm.
the language was just like completely being just blurred in my mind.
Yeah.
But as I went on to like looking at the lyrics of like what it's saying, it just made
Mhm.
me more, rather than looking at a book and studying or like on how to speak all those languages or say all these different type of words. It made me realize, okay, I can improve my communication skills or just my speech in general via listening to music or the lyrics. So yeah.
That's that's really cool. I didn't even, like, you mentioned it a little bit before, but I never occurred to me how much uh, music can be used as a language tool, because it really is a key communicator for people, and it really, it says so much, and it also, I think usually musicians tend to form words a little bit better than the rest of us. That's part of the reason that they are musicians, I think. So hopefully it helps with, well, communication.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, for me, my go-to with that kind of overwhelmingness of it, um, has been Paul McCartney. I'm sure both of you know who he is. He's one of the
Yeah.
most famous musicians ever. But like the music that he writes is always just so, oh well, things are great, and it's really, for me, sometimes that, like, that's what you need, is somebody to just be out there and be singing "Live and Let Die" or "Obla Di Obla Da," and be reminded, hey, things go on, and there's a next step. Let's keep moving. But I don't I don't know if I'm alone in that. I think I'm not, because he's a very very famous person and very well selling musician. So I'm sure he speaks to a lot of other people in the same way. But yeah, um, I did want to. I kind of transitioned to my thought, and that, but I did want to circle back to what you were talking about, Ravi, about music as a communication lesson. Was there, I'm imagining this this point where, like, you're listening to, because you said you started off with rap, and I'm imagining this point where you're listening to very inappropriate things and then saying those things. Did that happen?
No, it did. Yeah, I got beat up by my parents at that point. Like, what are you saying? You know what you're saying at the same time. It's like, nope, no idea. But I was just like mumbling in my head and just trying to copy what they were saying. But as time grew, of course, I understood a lot much of the rapping styles and all these different genres of music, and then which was nice. And I mean, back to the point of um, like when you watch a movie, or usually some of the songs, like just music in general without any lyrics, are on like all these like Avengers film or like all these Batman films, like that, like being point going back to Ali's point of like it just grows on you, where either you're working out, it just picks you up in the mood of like, okay, let's do better. So a lot of like iconic music just helps with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the Avengers film, I remember. First off, I'm a huge Marvel nerd, so I'm very biased. But I remember the very first Marvel show, or not show, movie, was Iron Man, and like I wanted to see it because I'm a fan of Robert Downey Jr. Even when he was like Robert Downey Jr. the mess versus the like amazing actor that he is now. Um, and I'm a Marvel nerd too, but I remember that moment when like they introduce Iron Man and it's this big reveal, and then ACDC's, I think it's Thunderstruck, is the one that plays, and you're just like it sets
Goosebumps.
everything, it solidifies everything, and you feel that moment really powerfully um, in that movie, and I think to me that speaks to the power that music had, because like let's be honest, if they didn't have that song playing, it wouldn't have had the impact. um I don't know if either of you have experienced that moment, but for me I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, no, creativity and even sounds, right? Like I know I have Netflix on my TV, so I know it's not like a full 3 to 5 minute song, but I think when you click it, it makes like that, and I probably could never replicate the noise. It almost sounds like a door being slammed, and it kind of just brings your attention, like, okay, center yourself, bring you into the moment here. So I think, any relation to a song that can bring you to a movie. I also, Aaron, also really loved Marvel movies growing up. Maybe that's just because I had a younger sibling who loved it as well, Spider-Man and all of those guys. So, I also link some songs to, good memories when I was a kid. Movies, different places I visited. Like I went to the Empire State Building a few years back, and I'm petrified of heights, but I like hiking. I don't know how that works, but there was a few really good 80s songs playing on the way up in the elevator, and it really gave me that comfort too. So different emotions. I know we talk a lot about mental health, and again, connecting music to our mental health. So um, just again, different situations. That's kind of what I think about.
Yeah, yeah. Have you had a similar experience with music and movies as it were,
I
Robbie?
mean, yeah, I mean, yeah. If anything, like visiting different countries and then like listening to their songs in that language, just I know this increases the vibes
Yeah.
as well. Much more so if in France, like I'll listen to some French music.
Hmm.
In Germany, I'll listen to some German music. I'll have some Beethoven playing in the back. So it does in a way of like, okay, if I'm in New York, I'll listen to some Jay-Z singing some Empire State Building song, like Ellie mentioned. So yeah, it does depending on where I'm at and what part. So yeah, just people to people is very different and the situation that they live in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think so. Another random story. Sorry, we're talking about music. I have so many random stories about music, but my younger sister is she's a huge fan of Bad Bunny, and I had never, like the first time she's the one who introduced me to Bad Bunny, and I had never really, like I knew who he was, but I didn't know anything else. And and her to a much greater extent got really tied to the Puerto Rican culture because of his music, because of what he's rapping about, because he only raps in Spanish. um and it was like it was a very, for me, like culturally opening experience that I don't think I would have experienced without the music. um which I definitely feel like the more input you have from other places, the easier it is for you to find happiness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Yeah, people around you, it does bring out a lot of. You venture out a lot more with music. For me, I was never into country music before. I had no clue what it was. It just like everyone just sounded like very nasally. But again, being around people just made me like just like it a lot more and better. And I ended up going to a concert as well for like Luke Bryan. So it does impact a lot. Even though I don't know any Spanish, I love Bad Bunny. Just listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to kind of piggyback off of Ravi, like, I know I mentioned Alan Walker earlier, but there's just so many other EDM artists that I love to listen to. And maybe it's like those little sounds that just kind of uplift your spirit and have you want to do better. And I know past few years I've went to like the big EDC concert in Orlando. So it's a lot of planning with Ubers and things, but you're on your feet for about 10 to 12 hours and you're meeting a lot of fellow people who also feel the same. Like, this is our outlet. Like I met a couple this past EDC in November in Orlando, and they're like, yeah, we travel around the world because we live somewhere nice and tropical. I think they were from actually like Miami, Florida. And they're like, we live where people vacation. So for us, to go to New York, for certain concerts to see certain artists, like that's our vacation. And I just think that's so cool. Like the community that you can build, even like country music concerts, people get there very early. They spend time, mingling amongst others and just a general, I think connecting too in person versus just over online as well makes your mental health much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you guys
Um,
have a favorite travel song? Like you're on the way to your airport, and then
Mm.
of course a vacation as well. So you're like, I have to listen to this song.
Oh boy. So for me, I mean, and I'm very open about my younger years. I grew up in Connecticut my entire life, and I mean, we would drive to Florida. We never really flew anywhere or anything. But when I went to Miami, I don't remember if there's another artist, and I'm sorry if there was, but I know Will Smith has a song like "Welcome to Miami." I That was the staple of that whole trip. Like every time going for a car ride, that was playing because I was in Miami. Like I can't play that in Connecticut or anywhere else. I have to play it there. So that's probably my story with one. I don't know about both of you or others listening. And if people watching have a song and or even the song I mentioned, put it in the comments and let us know. I'd like to hear other people's travel songs because I might add it to my playlist or,
Mm.
you guys to yours. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, I have a lot of travel songs. Usually, I try to like if I'm doing a road trip, um, I try to have more energetic songs just to keep me awake.
Mm.
Um, but I will say one of my go tos is "Hey Driver" by Lucky Boys Confusion. I'm really biased there. I actually went to high school with them. They're like a semi-national band. I think they were on like Letterman or Leno or something at some point, but they're not a huge band. But I did go to high school with them, and I remember going to one of their concerts and that song coming on, and it's a hey we're heading out type song and very energetic and upbeat. So it's always on my playlist when I'm on a road trip. Um, how about you, Ravi? You put the question out there. What's your
That is true. I mean, there's plenty of different songs in terms of like my travel songs, but there's one that like relates to wherever I'm going. If it's like just driving or like on a plane, is there's a song called "Middle." It's by
Mhm.
DJ Snake. There's a line in there. He basically says like, "I hope that I can turn back the time to make it all right for us." I don't know. It's just like just a happy feeling that okay, you are going back to your normal day to day life, but it'll be all right. It'll be the
Yeah,
right thing
yeah,
after the
yeah.
vacation is over, of course.
I will say, as to get off topic, that is a feeling that I have a lot of times when I come back from vacation of like, oh yeah, I'm kind of happy to be ending it. Don't like I part of me doesn't want to, but I'm also part of like happy to be getting back to to my life. And yeah, the line that you just said really speaks to that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Sorry. But I did want to talk about, to shift gears, not really, maybe a little bit, um, music as it relates to death. Because my wife and I, we have this shared playlist called Death Sucks, because we're of the age where we've both had people really close to us um, pass. And you when that happens, if it hasn't happened to either of you or to any of our listeners, um, it is an experience that you can't prepare for, and you don't really know what it feels like until it happens. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, music is a really big um, outlet for that grief and for that anxiety. And for me, I felt like during these periods, I felt a little bit out of place, like there was just, because there was something missing, as it were. But I also, when I listen to songs about death, there seems to be two very different styles, and maybe there's more, but there's this style of, hey, we're celebrating this person as they lived, you know and then there's the style of, we're mourning the loss of somebody that was very important to us. I don't know if either of you are in a place, or have that experience where you can speak about that. But yeah, I'm gonna kick it over, so I stop talking.
No, and I think we've all, and when I think of death, like you mentioned, like, of course, thinking of, honoring someone who we loved and has passed away, but also celebrating, their life. I mean, I think it also on a personal level, right? Like maybe we've started a new endeavor, and not that we're completely leaving behind our past, but like if we have a song or a certain artist that we listen to that offers, okay, like celebrate what's coming forward, but also honor what's been in the past, like things can be all right. And I know I mention Alan Walker probably 100 times a day, so I'm gonna add however many times I've mentioned him in this, to that over 100 for today. But a song he has is called All Falls Down. And the
Mhm.
line I resonate with most, kind of like with what Ravi said, is when it all falls down, I'll be all right, And I think with grief, right? Like death, unfortunately, comes very unexpectedly. Certainly we might hear it from a family member or something, but also when we're grieving, maybe, or I say our past life, right? Like, I mean, and to be again transparent, I moved across the country a few years ago. So, I mean, there's still times where I'm like, oh, I miss going to that restaurant downtown New Haven, or I miss, this about where I was. But now, I live in a much more warmer place than Connecticut, and it's great. And I'm like, wow, I can celebrate now. I'll listen to these songs that things are all right. I'm somewhere new. There's new opportunities. So I know I kind of got a little off topic than what you shared, Aaron, but I think, again, as the clinician in me, feels, grief can be seen in many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. uh how about
Person-
you, Robert?
yeah, personally, I mean, luckily, very fortunate to not have any deaths. A person of close to me. But like Ali mentioned, grief can be, or the mourning of anything can be, just depending on how your mindset is in the moment. What you look at in your day to day, whether if like, the life just sucks or life is happy. There's two different routes of going about that grief, of either what type of music you listen to in that moment. Um,
Yeah.
I think, sorry, I didn't mean to
no, no,
interrupt. If
you're good.
I think that, speaking of grief, I think that there are different times for different types of, or different responses to grief, if that makes any sense. Like, there are, to me, there are definitely times where you just want to let yourself be sad and be kind of awash in the hardship and the pain and just feel it, because I do think that that's part of the process, is to let yourself feel the pain, and music, I think, is amazing for that. I don't know if either of you have heard the Ed Sheeran song Supermarket Flowers, but I can't listen to that song without just bawling my eyes out. It's about, if you're not familiar, it's basically about his relationship with his mother, who died of cancer. Man, I'm tearing up thinking about it. Just a second. But it's it's such a deep and emotional song, but it's also, you would think kind of intuitively that people wouldn't like that type of song because it brings out a negative thing. For whatever reason, and I don't know enough about the human brain to understand why, but for whatever reason, it does resonate with a lot of people, and it does help a lot of people. And songs like that as well help a lot of people. I don't know if if either of you kind of has a thought on that, and a thought on the the benefit of sadness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think sometimes, you might want to eventually just kind of get rid of those tears, right? Like I've had parts where I maybe I've been really stressed out in my day and I'm like, I just feel like I'm gonna cry. Like it's just
Mhm.
I'm overwhelmed and I'd rather do it sitting in my car behind closed doors essentially, or in my room or at home somewhere, versus like I just get so stressed out in public that everybody else can see me, right? So yeah, maybe there is, I mean, I sometimes say like building a sad playlist could be therapeutic, right? Because it's like, okay, like let's get it out, let's move on. Where the tears is the stress, we're getting rid of that stress and then we're starting fresh. That's kind of my thought on it, at least. I mean, I know we all have different thoughts and things, but our emotions, happy, sad, mad, glad, you know, they're going to come out.
Yeah, Aaron, on that point, does the lyrics or the instruments of the music, like basically enhances your feelings? Which one is for you?
Well, I mean, for specifically that song,
Hmm.
it's the lyrics as much as the instrumentals, because like my own story is, I did lose my mother to cancer, which is what that song is about.
Hmm.
So like that's why, sorry, that's why it hits so hard for me personally. But there is also the instrumental aspect of it. There's another song that I can think of by Frank Turner, who I brought up earlier, um, A Wave Across the Bay. It's about his friend who unfortunately committed suicide. And uh, the the lyrics to the song aren't really as much about the sadness, but the melody and the tone of the song really bring you to that depth um, with it. So I think it can go either way, and a lot of times it's a little bit of both. Um, but that's just me and those songs. Um, yeah. How about on on the other end of things? We were just talking about songs for for sadness. To maximize, to relieve, to get the cry out. I don't know what the goal is, but I do know that I tend to feel better when that happens. But there's also those songs that help you get over it. You know, I brought up earlier, "Live and Let Die" by I think it's Paul McCartney and Wings, not just Paul McCartney, but it's a Paul McCartney song, and that's just one of my favorite mottos in life, of just like, okay, well, something happened, live and let die, like let it go, move forward. um, and so there's also these songs that really revolve around that. Do either of you have a preference personally for where you go with when you're in that grief mode, when you're in that sadness mode?
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, and when you say where you go, like, is it a certain genre or like a place where we kind of listen to these things, just so we kind of can answer
I'm
that little
sorry. Yeah, that's all. I mean, like, do you trend toward the, hey, let's bounce back from this and get toward a happier place, or do you trend toward a, hey, let's dive down so that we can fully experience it and then have
bit?
hopes of recovering?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, anymore, I mean, I go back to kind of my teenage years, like you experience a breakup or a bad grade on a test, like you listen to that sad, playlist almost, and it's like every song on there just keeps bringing you down. It's like you're falling into a hole. Whereas, now more matured as an adult, I kind of think of it as like, um, let's bounce back from it. Maybe I'm screaming the lyrics to this song, maybe I'm humming it very loudly, but at least like that essentially is my way of crying it out, right? Like we're
Mhm.
listening to it at maybe a higher volume than usual, of course, being careful with ears and things. So maybe in the car, just, listening to it and driving and, you know, getting out of that space that you're in. But yeah, I think, you know, any more more positive, right? I mean, everybody has their own way of coping, but for me, if I listen to back to back to back the same sad song, I'm not going to really find myself getting anywhere. But other people, it's could be beneficial for sure.
Yeah, at the end of the day, for me, is mainly time. Time, like if I see myself going down that rabbit hole of just like listening to those sad songs, and then knowing that it's not helping with my mood or anything like that, I will bounce back up and then start listening to a different genre or something that will make me feel better.
Yeah.
So time helps with that a lot.
Yeah, time heals all wounds, as it were.
Mhm.
Yes.
Um, but random story: when years and years ago, I went to a Train concert with some friends, and the Fray. I don't know if either of you are familiar with that band. They did the song "How to Save a Life," um, but they were opening for Train, and I really like that song. But also, all of their songs are like that song, where they're very, kind of dark and sad and slow. Um, and in a concert, it really did not work for me. Nothing against Fray, if you're a Fray fan or whatever, um, but it it was a lot. And kind of going back to what you both talked about, of like, hey, if you do the sad songs a little bit too much, it ends up not being helpful. And I can say I definitely understand where you're coming from, and relate to that experience. Specifically, in that concert was just a full 45-hour long set of very sad songs.
Mm.
And at first, I was like, okay, cool, but by the end of it, I was like, please stop, I can't anymore.